Okay, greetings. Welcome everyone to Sword Lab, our historical and traditional martial arts adjunct of TPLA. This is actually where it all started. Me and Bornok, Matt, are from both from traditional martial arts circles. He's mostly from HEMA. I am from Chinese martial arts. As we have said many times, but there you go. We are live here. I also have my phone here so we can get stuff on Facebook if you are following there. Please feel free to ask questions as we go through this. I have a lot of things which probably people will want to talk about. So, anyway, what are we doing here? Yes, so Sword Lab. In the creation of Terra Prime, it started out with me and Matthew trying to find a way, a system and weapons and stuff like that, whereby people from different traditions and arts and stuff like that could fight together, play together, that kind of thing. And when we found the lightsabers, that basically gave us a very easy solution, and that's where we are now. Now this was before all of the cool poly weapons and all the cool sparring weapons that are out now. There was only the cold steel poly wasters on the market at the time, which were big and thick and not very suitable for anything. I think they still sell them, but they're not great. They don't feel great. They're pretty heavy. Their balance is all off. The handles are too small. The blades are too thick. We could go on and on. Anywho, but anyway, so our investigations into the commonalities between sword traditions led to us codifying things so that we have a system for the lightsaber, which kind of encompasses the best of all worlds, right? So taking things from here, there, and the other. So kind of like a Jeet Kune Do type of idea, or Ziran Man, if you're into Chinese martial arts that way. Okay, so you've been challenged to a duel to the death. What do I do? Do I train or chicken out? I say do it. Who's gonna miss you, right? Anyway, so where does this get us? So I'll talk about kind of where I'm coming from here in this one here, and then we'll go through some things which I think will help people in whatever sabering they're doing. So like I said, the first part about it is I'm from a Chinese background, but what we try to do here is try to look for the commonalities in everything that we do, because there are more similarities than there are differences, really. Anyway, most of my material that I have out there, we will be talking about, and a lot of the stuff that I do is from stuff like this, Chinese longsword. You've seen some of the drawings, so that's a weapon that is used here a lot, and also the dadao, which is that. Now those are two basic weapons that I've used to kind of codify everything like that. There's some other weapons also which I'll show in a little bit, but we will kind of talk about that. Okay, so when you're learning weapons in the Chinese realm, you have basically four classic types of weapons. You have swords, you have sabers, you have sticks, and you have spears. Right? and then there's soft weapons, and there's other things in there. And depending, some people say there's 18, some people say there's 108. Some people, if you look through the Chinese arsenal of just of anything, not just the stuff that exists in military manuals, you're dealing with a lot of crazy, unique weapons. Many of these weapons, as weird and crazy as they look, were probably only used very limited sense and by a very limited number of people. But yet they existed. So, there you go. Okay. Anyway, what we'll be starting out today with is stick. The reason we start out with stick, in Chinese, we say it's the grandfather of all weapons. Pretty much everything that we're going to do from a hilt-based weapon standpoint, from swords to knives to anything like that, can be related to with a stick. The earliest practice weapons were probably just sticks. And if we think about it, a sword is just a sharpened metal stick. So it's going to behave in a lot of the same ways. The philosophy is outlined a lot in this book here, which is called the Jianjing, which means the sword classic. Now, although it is called a sword classic, the author, Yu Dayu, who is a Ming Dynasty general, basically included staff techniques. So this is a book of staff techniques, but it's called Sword Classic. He refers to the staff as a jian, as a sword. Some people, there are many theories on why that is. From the term sword being a colloquialism meaning just weapon, at the time and place that he was writing, to the idea, which is probably closer, maybe, at least this is the one we're going with, that the stick is a good analog for all other weapons. And he does say it in there. He talks about it being, learning the stick is like learning the 4 books. And in Chinese scholarship, there are 4 classics that you have to read, memorize, understand, before you move on to the other stuff. And he says that this is like learning the 4 books. So it's your basics. It's everything that you can learn about these weapons in one. Right? So that's where he is coming from that. Now, we are going to use a short stick today. I'm going to use a short stick because obviously we're all stuck inside, a lot of us, and this length of stick is a very easy length to obtain, right? Pool cues, broom handles, that kind of thing. It's a little shorter, so you don't have to worry about it knocking over stuff or anything like that. But now a short stick is a weapon in and of itself. We call it biange, or biangar, depending on who you're talking to pronounce it. But biangan is, the word bian means whip, but not really like as in whip as in like a bullwhip, but as in like a riding crop. So these shorter sticks are sometimes called bian, right? That's what riding crops were called in the Ming Dynasty as well. So you'll see that come up a lot. So we're going to use this. The techniques that we're going to use here are going to be good for all stick, right? So no matter how long the stick is, you're going to get some here. I will show you how to alter things for the shorter one, but we'll go into some of how what are the benefits to it. Okay, so my stick is about here, up to the armpit. Total choice for you. That's my thing. Some other people will say hold it out pull it out like that, or hold it here, right, and try to find what the length is. This length sometimes is called a crutch because it does go up to the armpit, and it's about as high as a crutch. But there you go. But this will work with longer stuff. Now, one thing that we're going to be doing a lot with the shorter one that you can, right? Like when you use an actual short stick, right? You will probably have to bring your hands together a lot more to keep this out here. We'll talk about that. Okay, so first things first. How are we going to hold this thing? So we have two basic ways of holding. Now you'll notice that this stick has two ends. It has a small end, it has a large end, right? We can call this the tip, we can call this the butt, whichever we want to do. Let's get a little bit more feet in there so you can maybe check out a little bit more footwork. Okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, so now we have two different ways of gripping it. Okay, this hand is always going to be palm down. There are temporary positions that we get into where it's like this, right? But more often than not, as soon as our hand gets something like this, we're going to be turning it around to try to get like this. So the grip is really going to have to do with the forward hand. Now, so this grip right here, we either call Taiji grip, standard grip, yin-yang grip, palms facing each other, right? One hand is up, one hand is down, okay? Probably the most intuitive. The other grip is palm down, or we say yin hand, okay? So now this grip, a little bit different than this grip, right? This grip is pretty much side specific, okay? So when I'm on one side of my hand, my body, this hand is in front. And when I go to the other side, I have to switch it, right? And that's going to go with our first technique, which we'll get into in a second. If I have in my reverse grip, or my yin hand here, I do not have to reorient my hands. I can simply go side to side. You see, like that. So there's where the advantage is there. This is going to give me a better control, better manipulation, maybe better power, right? This is going to be a little bit more maneuverable, a little bit quicker in moving side to side, just like that. Okay, all right. So, in hand and standard. Okay, or you can call it yang hand, whatever's most convenient for you. Okay. Now, footwork here. So, the gets here. So, if I am with my non-dominant hand forward and my dominant hand on the back, okay, this is going to be right-handed for most people. Okay, and I'm here. Now I'm going to get into a stance here. Okay, like this. I want this stance to be sort of wide, but I want it to be here. Okay. When I'm dealing with longer weapons, I can get a longer stance here, right? So sometimes you can be way out here if you have a nice long weapon, because then you have a lot of lateral movement back and forth to get a lot of play out of it, okay? If you're short of space right now, just keep it nice and comfortable, just right into here, okay? Now, you're going to take this, we're going to start in standard grip, and we're going to hold it by the butt here, and then put that sort of in front of your navel, but not touching. So you're a little bit away from your abdomen, and then take this and hold it there. Okay? Now you have this angled up first, okay, in the high position there. You can angle it here, and you can angle it down like that. Now, with a stick, generally speaking, if I'm up here, I'm good. When I go down here, I want to bring it back so that I have a little bit more oomph. Notice that I'm losing a little real estate there at the front. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind. Okay, that's where the sliding is going to come in. so that if I wanted to strike here, I can slide. Okay? So now, our front hand is going to be very inert. It's not going to do a whole lot. Okay? Our rear hand is the hand that is going to be the business hand. Okay? So, we slide it through here like this, right? We maneuver it, go down, up, here. Notice that we can get a bigger circle out of the tip, depending on where we put the fulcrum to our stick. Okay? All right. So now, okay, power is going to come from the legs as always. Right? So we're right into here. This stance, as you see, okay, should be pretty much like your do-back. Okay, so I'm sitting in do-back, but I'm kind of off to the side like this. Okay, now go ahead, turn this hand over. Okay. Now you're in your in hand, and you can feel the difference. This elbow is kind of sticking up, right? Whereas here, I can tuck that in and get a little bit more together. If I'm here, it's almost like I'm almost ready to move somewhere. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, when we're in this stance, of course, we call this spear. Spear style, spear stance, whatever, because our non-dominant hand's in front. Okay? And that's the thing here like this. Okay? Now, if I turn and do it on this side, I have to switch my hands, and now I'm going to call this sword style, because now my dominant hand is on top where the hilt would be. So I'm going to be holding it more like a sword, you see, like that. And there we go. Okay? Okay. So sword, slide, and spear. Okay? All right. Of course, same deal with your footwork, going back and forth like that. Right? And then all of those same footwork strategies that you use in Shicho, you use here too. Okay? Just like with a stick. Now the nice thing with a stick and practicing sabering is that neither have an edge. So you can work on body mechanics and weapon handling rather than edge alignment and that kind of thing. Okay? All right. So that's our basic stances there. Now I'll show you a couple of steps, even though it's going to be a little bit difficult within the small space and with the camera being stationary here. But I'll try to get as far as I can over to this side. Okay, now, if I'm in this stance, okay, when I switch, okay, I am going to slide this hand down, slide this hand up, and switch. See? Just like that. Okay? As I step. So as my feet pass each other, just like that. That's that. Now, if I instead go to yin hand, I'm going to turn the saber. Okay? Go horizontally first. Okay? Now, you can go up and down. So if we go here in yin hand, if we go here, slide it back, come forward, step forward, and bring it down. That's one way. And then back the other way. Boom. See? Here. Boom. Here. Boom. Now you can always go down, slam it on the ground, do what I have. Okay. We'll get to more of the sliding here in a second, but that's the trick, sliding that stick. Okay, so if I'm going forward here, I want to go down, I'm sliding it back, and then forward. If I go underneath here, you see, there, using that back hand again to power this, to power it. Okay. Okay. So that's the basic footwork integration pattern that we use with the stick here. Very, very basic, obviously. Orientation of the body and the stick is fine. We're not doing any crosses, meaning coming across like that yet. We're just keeping it nice and simple. Okay. So let's talk about a little bit about what's going on in the hands. Right? Now, if you tuned into the Kung Fu yesterday, those 5 stances remain the same. We pretty much do all of those same stances here, so that's all it takes. Okay? But for now, we are going to now stand like this. Okay? If you have very low ceilings, you can get into kind of like a lower do-back, like that. But generally, we're going to be here. We're going to hold the stick like this. Okay? Yin hand. Right? We're going to stretch out to this position here and come over. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come over the top, and this is where you have to be careful in the house. Boom. And come down. We're going to slide it back, grab the end, slide this down to the middle. So we're making 2 vertical strikes down like that. Okay? Same thing, boom. Here, now diagonal. Here, boom. Okay. Now horizontally, boom. Boom. Right? Okay. Not sure, I can hear a lawnmower. Maybe you can too. Anyway, so horizontal, boom, boom. Now we're going to slide down, slide up there, and then flip it around down to there. We slide up, boom, and down. So all together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Now, you don't want that much hanging off of the edge, right? You want to be able to go end to end here, right? Because if you don't, then you're going to be hitting again with less real estate, and then it's going to put your hand at risk. Okay. So that's the thing here. Now, if you want to, we can get down here lower, so that we can go a little bit higher, right? See? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, basics like that. From there, you can get into different ones, right? If I show this one here, from here, up, out, slide back, slide up, turn around, slide, switch the hands, come up, switch them back, whoa, come around to there, hit, and down to start it over. All right. Okay, so there is that particular movement there. Now, so what that is doing, switch over back so we can see kind of what's going on with the hands. Okay, so if I'm here, so you can see my hands. I'm starting over here. I come back like this, and then I'm going to go up as high as I can. I'm not going to go that high now, of course. But you see? Then I'm going to bring my hands together like this, and I'm coming down here. This is where that bien word comes in handy, okay? Because this is whipping. You're really trying to get the edge of this to whip around as fast as you can. Now that's specifically for short stick. If you're using a long stick, you don't have to worry about that. You can keep a longer distance between your hands because you're not reducing your striking surface with the edge of by moving your hands too much. But when you've got a short stick, you've got limited resources to use here, so you really have to move this thing around, right? Otherwise, you're going to get your hand snapped, right? Having a little bit of a tail, not bad, okay? Having a little bit of a tail. Don't have a big tail, okay? Little tail here. Little tail, you can use it to manipulate the other person's weapon. You can come through, right? All of that. But, you see? So, there we go. So, hand switching and be very good with controlling how much of your stick you're using at one time. That's the trick. Now, with a short stick, this is great because it's about as long as your weapons. Obviously, it's a little longer, right? But it can be used as a very good way. If you use this, for example, to practice orbits, right? I'm going here like this. I purposely have a lot sticking off here so that it forces me to really concentrate on that portion of the stick, which is where so many people forget. They'll usually hold it here by the end and kind of try to spin like that. So, but if I'm going here like this, and I really think about that. Now, the other little secret here with the stick, if you're trying to get your obiani, as they call it, I cannot state that name, but so you're trying to do the behind the back spin, the obiani, the whatever the hell you want to call it. We call it the grand procession. If you go like that, okay. But here's the trick: go into yin hand. Keep your both hands on it. See? Take one hand off, and that's what you got. Hand on it. Take it off. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right, so that's kind of the basics of the stick, how they're kind of relating to things. Let's see if we got any questions here before we move on. James says hello. Hello. Yes. So yes, this weapon is a our friend Ben Judkins on there's studied some of this when we did our Dwan Bang with Mashrafu. my teacher from China. This is a very signature weapon of Manshatong Bay. It kind of forms the basis for everything. It uses a lot of the movement and all of that kind of thing. So we got here. Short stick is a speed weapon rather than a leverage power type of strike. I guess. Yes, it will be faster because it's shorter. They say, an inch shorter, an inch faster, an inch longer, an inch stronger. So yeah, you can do that. However, I would probably not say the leverage thing, because you can produce more leverage against somebody when you come in, close, and shorten that lever. And then as I'm going around here, I got my long one over here, and it's not going to take much energy to pop that, to pop those weapons around in there. Yeah, all of these are archived on the channel. So all of the live feeds we're going to be going there. Okay, so that's the kind of basics of stick handling and stuff like that, and you can kind of see where this stuff kind of goes. If I do that other one here, from here, boom, come up around like this, boom, you can see right here, I'm all set up just like a sword, just like something like that. Boom, come through, slide it back. Oh, come on. Turn it around. There. Up. Okay. Actually, no, it'll be there. Boom. Then come back here, switch it back. Come around. And then on there. You can see the kind of makings of sword stuff. So that's what you got. So now, a couple of the weapons that have gone into making what we do. Here, police to put this. So, mentioned the Dadao. I forgot to bring one down, but that's okay. One of the weapons that is used extensively in Shicho is this guy, the Changdao, or the long saber, sometimes called a Miaodao nowadays. That's kind of a modern name. Okay. As you see, this is a very large weapon. Okay. As it stands here, here you go. If I stand up kind of straight, it's about at the top of my sternum. Okay. These weapons were used in the military. They were used a lot against other long weapons, so like spears and stuff like that, and they were used in certain formations. All of that has to be taken into account when you're talking about this particular weapon. Now, that being said, a lot of the training and a lot of the forms and drills and stuff that are used with this, right, you can see coming directly from the short stick. And if we look at the lengths of these, much closer to each other. So, you have a pretty good tip on here, so you can't thrust with these, but you have a nice big thick spine on here like this as well. And oftentimes it's used to push, to give leverage to something like that, and then of course we can start maneuvering it like that. So, like I said, sword grip, you're going to be mostly like this. Okay, and you have your dominant hand forward or foot forward, and this is what we'd be calling our attack stance. If I bring it up here like this, you can see where this is going. And so on. That's not enough room. Anyway, so you can see, not just grabbing the blade. Obviously, that would be for this, right? And we can do that in many different ways by using this here. Grabbing and half sorting is a very good technique that is used the world over. Most people who start this stuff are very afraid of touching the blade, but even when a sword is sharp, and I do have a sharp sword here, which I can show you how you can grab the blade safely. This one's not sharp, but this other one I have is, and you can see that you can safely grab a blade, no problem. And that's where a lot of that stuff comes from in any type of sticks. Okay, so here is a Chinese longsword. It's not so historic. It is modeled to resemble a kind of Tang/Han Dynasty type of thing, but it's got a couple of modern features which make it pretty modern. First of all, yes, it's got the thin Han-style blade and the guard. The wrapped handle is kind of strange. I've never seen a pommel cap like this. It's pinned in, which is fine. That's a nice one. But it also has this ricasso, and the ricassos are a Western adaptation that you don't start appearing in China until I want to say the 1800s. And that's when the block ricasso here stayed there. So it's not a perfect replica, but it will serve our purposes here. It's a little bit longer, but as you can see, again, we're dealing with something that is similar in length and wieldability to here. See, here's that grip. If you've been watching Damon's thing, which talks about, he uses a lot of the stuff that comes from our mutual teacher, Teacher Yu, who did this kind of stuff and was always constantly changing the grip of the backhand. And again, remember, the backhand is still the power. Even though we're using our dominant hand here, when we're using especially a two-handed sword, well, only a two-handed sword, it's the rear hand which is giving us the power. The front hand is guiding us. Right? And that's the stuff that we learned from there. Okay, so now this is a sharp sword. If I can find a piece of paper that can demonstrate it, but of course I don't have one handy now. All right, well, this is not perfect. This is styrofoam, but you can still see that. All right, slices in without hardly any pressure, anything like that. Okay, so now, if I grab this section of the blade, right, and grab it with two hands here. Okay, boom. Nothing. Okay, I wish I had a piece of paper so you can see how sharp this was. But, yeah. But anyway, so there you go. These stick techniques or whatever will come in handy with a longer steel weapon like this. Anyway, so it relates to all all weapons, stick work. And definitely two-handed weapons especially. Okay. So, see if we got any more questions here. Yes. So, yes, this beast right here is reminiscent of a nodachi or an odachi in there. Again, like I said, modern day people have a hard time grabbing the blade, but I do know that there are plenty of Japanese techniques which require holding onto the spine or something like that. It's a very common technique, especially to get through armor and things like that. Obviously, most katana have like a 28, they're a relatively short blade and a relatively long handle. So you generally don't need to do so much of that. You've got the leverage in your handle. But there's that. So, okay, so see what other questions people might have. Okay, well, people are thinking of that. I will give you this little thing that you can try at home. Now, if you do it outside, go ahead and stretch up and try to reach as far as you can. If you're doing it inside, just try to get the motion and really concentrate on sliding this stick. I'll do it a little closer so you can see my hands. Right here. Okay. So again, you're going to start off tip end here, tip end forward. Okay. If you're holding it in hand like that, I'll go to the side here. Okay. I'm going to bring this back. Then I'm going to lift it up. Now, if I'm doing it outside, I can lift this hand way up and bring it up here. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to bring it to here. Now I bring it here. And you see, as I slide, it turns. And then goes down. Okay? And then you're going to hold it like this. This side. So I slide up. I should say. I slide up and down. Slide up and down. Slide up. Diagonal. Slide up. Diagonal. Okay. Slide up, horizontal. Notice how close my hands are. Okay. Slide back. And again. Then we go up. So see, I slide to the end here. Slide up. Then come around and down. Slide out. Come up. And there. Okay. Let's get out here. Okay. Go diagonally here. So we come up and down. Slide up and down. Okay. So you see, I'm turning this end and bringing it down. Okay? Up. This up and then down is a very good reversal because you can blocking up, and then not only can you come down on top of it, but you can pry the weapon that's on top of yours away. So that is a good basic exercise people can do. All right. Let's see any more questions on the stream. Let's see what we got on the other media channels, if anything. Don't see anything yet. All right. Right. All 8 angles of attack. Okay, so 8 angles of attack. So that's a thing from Filipino martial arts, I believe. The 8 angles of attack. I keep hearing that a lot. It is not something that is part of my training or methodology. What it does do, and the whole thing, I don't know if I can perform this all here, but I'll try. This forms a set, okay, a little line. So if I'm here, I'm going to come up here. I come down, down, diagonal, diagonal, across, across, up, down, down. Okay, and basically, as I've said with a lot of with the Shicho form, we do the exact same thing in the Shicho form. The only thing that we don't do is we don't do the straight down ones. Okay, the straight one downs on the head. I've always figured the straight down ones are a little redundant if you're also doing the diagonal ones. Okay, but basically what it is this: you're practicing striking down, striking up, and striking across. Okay, so we technically have we have 3 downs. We have down, down, and we have the diagonal down, then we also have the diagonal down. There's not much different than those, other than keeping this down in the middle. Now with a stick, there's more of a reason to come right in the middle, right? Because this, you are meant to bludgeon somebody, and coming down on top of their head, pretty good thing. The thing is, though, it's really easy to target in that downward strike. So pretty much anywhere up in here, it's fairly easy to hit, so you can change it. But the exercise goes 2 down, 2 diagonal, right? Just to keep it clear and just make sure that you're hitting all of that kind of stuff. So there aren't really 8 angles, right? There's essentially, if you count the down, right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. You've got 8 strikes, right? But you've just got 1 up, there, there. This is kind of essentially the same right here, and it really depends on if you count both sides or you count one. It's an 8-move exercise, which is very important in Chinese numbers. Always doing things in multiples of 8, or not multiples, but in sets of 8, and that kind of thing. So really what we want to be thinking is, instead of thinking of the angles of attack or what's necessarily happening with the stick, is we're thinking about what's happening in our body and how we're making that change what the stick is doing. All right. So when I go up, I'm using my whole body, and it's a different type of thing, because I'm going to be coming from here, and I'm going to push this up like this. You see? So I'm pushing it up there. That's going to require me to do certain things with my body, right? And that's what we're going to be thinking about. If you're getting these exact or anything like that, really doesn't matter at this juncture. So think about the general directions: up, down, side to side. I would not necessarily think about specific angles, going around the thing. We do some of that later on, but that's kind of in Form 5. So, we'll kind of do that. So let's see here. Yes, you can try this with a broomstick. We've got somebody who said they're going to try it with a broomstick. These are excellent. I also like these lengths because they are very common, and so if you're good using this length of stick, you can find them anywhere. So where it's very difficult to find an eyebrow height or higher staff that can withstand any type of beating. Okay, so the question was raised, what do the swords weigh? That's a good question. So this sword right here, this big guy right here, is just shy of 4 pounds out of the scabbard. So it's a light sword for how big it is, but it's on the heavier side for some swords. It is not unwieldable. It is very wieldable. It does not feel that heavy in the hand as long as you're using proper technique. Where it balances, which is often a point of contention, is out about there. So I would give that that's a good 6 to 8 inches out from the guard that it balances. That gives it a very good, powerful chop, and a good stuff through there. The long sword is actually fairly light. This is about just shy of 2.5 pounds, I think. It's a rather light sword because of the thin blade and stuff like that. It cuts very well. It moves very well. It's a very comfortable sword and everything like that. But again, rather light. I don't know what the historical pieces weighed when they were intact. I guess that's an interesting question. Some things that I did not show. I have some Western swords here. We have a Western Danish style longsword. Right? This is 3 pounds. Okay? Or about just under 3 pounds. So this again is also a light longsword. As you can see, though, it has a much more pointy and stabby tip. So that's really good for armored combatants and the like. I'll show you these because these are interesting. So these are steel fetters, practice swords for European martial arts and swordplay. This one is from Poland. This weighs a little over 3 pounds, so this is about average weight. So I'm going to say like 3, I don't know, 3 1/4, something like that. Again, swords are not very heavy. This is about how much they weigh here, like this. But this is a very good one. It feels like a regular sword. The blade shape helps keep the balance and makes it feel sharp. And then we have this one. This was from the from the Czech Republic, I believe. He is. Now this one weighs, a significant amount. Let me show you, though, an issue with balance points. So this one balances just above what we call the schilt, that flat bit right there. I really like this balance. And this is probably where I like my longsword balance most of the time. About 3, maybe 4 inches up. Okay. So there's that. Now, if we look at this one balances right at the guard. Okay, see that? Now, most of the time, people are like, yes, that's a very well-balanced sword. Thing is, to achieve this, you have to weight this. So, this sword, although it is balanced right there, weighs about close to 4 pounds. So this thing weighs in the vertical about as much as the Changdao, right? Because it has to have this thing here, right? Now it doesn't necessarily feel as heavy because that balance is right here. But the thing about if your balance is right at the guard is you're getting zero mechanical advantage from your weapon. So as you're spinning it around and everything like that, you're having to put all of that energy into it because it's not. See, if I let go, it just stays there. It doesn't move, right? Whereas if I take the other one, right, and I hold it here like this, and I let it drop, you see it moves. It starts to do a cut for me, right? And what I can do is I can feel that, and then I can maneuver around with it, right? And that's where I'm going to get my techniques from and stuff, okay? And the techniques between Western and Chinese are fairly similar in that respect. So, okay, what do we got? So yes, so the weapon is actually an extension of one's body. That is true, and that is usually what people will say. However, we must always remember too that it is not a part of our body, right? And that there is we have to form and we have to cultivate a connection to this to make it work, right? It's not going to be like using our hand. It's going to be, we have to learn how to manipulate this. So we want to make it like an extension of the body, but remember, it is a separate piece, and so we're always going to remember that. Okay, well, that about does it here. I think we're all good on the questions. Yep. Okay. Pretty good. So yes. So again, all of the stuff that I was talking about here, the comparison stuff like that, that's just to give you good ideas of what we're doing and kind of where we're coming from, and to not discount anything necessarily, to look at things really, really deeply, and take things very, very slow, very meticulously. Another principle that is often said in the Ming Dynasty manuals is that people who are not experienced novices and such like that should not go into battle, because they cannot remember. They don't have any skills, and the skills that they have, they don't remember, and they end up just, as they say, slapping the ground with their weapon, and that happens. That's happened ever since the Ming Dynasty. If you don't have a whole lot of skill, you're not really that practiced, you don't have anything, you get into a stressful situation, everything locks down. You're like, oh no, what am I going to do? So, practice. That's the key. That's why we say patience, practice, perseverance. These are the 3 qualities that will get you there. Okay, so that is it for Sword Lab today. We'll be back again next week at the same time, same channel. Everybody, be safe, be healthy, wash those hands, keep that distance. If you're sheltering at home, join us here. We'll give you some stuff to do. Hopefully we'll keep you entertained while everything else is going on. So anyway, that's it for me over here, TPLA HQ. We shall see you all later. Remember, tomorrow is Saber Academy, so get those lightsabers ready. We will be going through some Saraisu, spinning fancy rockstar stuff. So we shall see you tomorrow. Patience, practice, perseverance. Happy sabering.